Welcome to Direct Play Digital. My name is Scott MacArthur. I'm here with
Zach Burns
and
Braden, Texas Caldwell.
And it is Friday. Thoughts? E3.
Crap.
I
mean, as an expo, the purpose of E3 should have been to make me want to buy products. And some companies entertained me, but did nothing to make me want to buy their products. Some people showed interesting products that I've known about for years. And at the end, I came away wanting to buy stuff I wanted to buy before the expo. And that was about it.
Tex?
I don't know that I would go as far as say it was crap. It wasn't like... I'm kind of cooled on the whole notion of E3. Like, yeah, it's cool to see what's coming out, but I also have the internet. I can just see what's coming out at any other time.
I think Nintendo has shown us with their directs and stuff like that, and the fact that E3 is about 25 years old now, and it started off with this is how we connect with the people, and then they would do it, and like I remember the initial E3s reading in like a Game Pro or EGM, and that was 3 months after the fact. Now, day and date, we're getting it right away, so E3 feels...
Well, yeah, and you see so many like leaks and stuff that the companies then have to backpedal on, like with what happened with Rage, where it gets leaked early, and then suddenly they're forced to react to it instead of do what they wanted to do and save it for E3.
Pete Hines' response was really good. Not only that day where they did, but when he came out and went like Walmart, known for the low prices and keeping secrets, was one of the highlights of E3 in my opinion. Zach, why was it crap?
Well, I mean, like I said, as an expo, you should make me want to buy your products, right? Like, there should be a certain amount of professionalism as to, and I'm not saying there wasn't, the shows were professional, but I mean, in the end, I don't want to be entertained. I want to be informed. I want to be inspired. I want to be excited, right? When I'm entertained for 90 minutes and then I forget about it, I don't feel like an expo is doing its job. And I will say it was more entertaining while I was watching it, but it was just much less impactful than any E3 that I've been following.
Yeah, caught up in the hype.
Yeah.
We were actually talking just before, like I said, it kind of feels like the time just after like E3 after they announced the Move controller and Kinect, but before they announced Xbox One and PS4, where it was just like we all know something's coming. Oh, Microsoft even announced that, hey, Scarlet, I found is the code name, is we are working on something else. You all know it. We all know it. We're not going to keep that secret, but we have to pretend like we still care about this one enough to put games on it.
I think at this point in time, it's pretty hard for these companies to keep secrets. Like even if it, regardless of any companies that are leaking, this game's coming because we're going to put it up on our storefront accidentally with big air quotes. Like there's not really any reason for these companies to try to make these crazy big reveals because they're clearly shown that they don't work anymore. People have so much access to, their live streamer on Twitch or otherwise is playing this new game early access or talking about what they're going to be playing, or they're on YouTube saying, here's this content that we know about because we're IGN and we're going to bring it digitally to you now. It's less of an impact. I was reading an article on PC Gamer earlier today talking about like the biggest moments at E3, and the one that really struck me as we don't have this anymore was when Sony was talking about the first PlayStation, and literally their press conference was the president of Sony, like Sony America, comes out and says $299 and walks off the stage. You can't do that anymore because people won't, people know about it already, or they've read it beforehand, or they have their commentator of choice from Twitch or YouTube channel live streaming it for them and giving their reaction.
Yeah.
Developing their opinion as it happens.
It's almost like the game industry has grown too big for E3, but I can't help but feel it's chicken and egg where E3 has made the gaming industry big, but then the game industry needs E3 to be big enough to, as its hype machine, right?
In my opinion, there's too many people that have kind of taken E3, essentially watching to see what stupid things are going to happen or what's going to be cringy or off-putting. So Ubisoft and EA are kind of a good example of this, and I think we'll get into that in a little bit. But
yeah, shortly actually.
but yeah, it's kind of become a big joke to a lot of people because they already know what's going to be revealed, or they have an idea at the very least.
Yeah, I think also the companies want a piece of their own pie, right? Like, Sony doesn't get as much profits from how many people tune into E3 as it does from how many people tune into PSX, right?
Yeah.
So Sony's been slowly, gradually saying, we're going to make our big announcements at our own shows, and we're going to keep that profit. Mm-hmm. So, like, you look at the last big announcements, Ghost of Tsushima was not announced at E3. Last of Us 2 was not announced at E3.
Yeah, the Video Game Awards is now becoming a thing as well on top of PSX.
Well, even along that vein, like, you look at what E3 used to be, and back before it would die, GameTrailers.com was like the big
easy allies.
That's where you went to see E3 because that's the best place to go. They had it as it was happening, but now Twitch, you have these streamers that maybe get a couple thousand people in their stream normally, getting 30,000 plus viewers because they're popular enough and they're sponsored by Twitch, and that's so the views aren't focused as much on the big companies, they're on these personalities, and I think that's kind of a shift that's happened recently.
Okay, so with that, I'm going to move into our discussion. What we're going to do is we're going to break it into two parts. We're going to cover Saturday, Sunday today, and then we'll do Monday, Tuesday for the next one. What I'll do is I'll go through. If there's a game you want to talk about, I'm going to talk about all of them. Pretty much all the big, at least big announcements. So I've got DLC, I got tech on this as well. We'll go through. I wouldn't mind a rating. We'll figure out as it goes. And maybe if we could all choose what we think is the best out of what was announced for that one. You will hear multiple games announced. Some games are in multiple press conferences, and I wrote that down as well. Some of them you got a trailer, the other one you got a gameplay, and that might change. Like, the trailer might have sucked, gameplay is great, vice versa. With that, EA kicked us off again with their play experience. Battlefield 5, FIFA 19, Origins Access Primer, which I think is an awesome. I think that is just shows that the Game Pass and is just how we're going to be moving forward. Jedi Fallen Order, Star Wars Battlefront 2 is getting that a bunch of DLC and stuff. Unravel 2 was not only announced, it was made available that day. Sea of Solitude, NBA Live 19, Madden 19, Command & Conquer Rivals, and Anthem. Zach, if you had to pick what you liked the most out of that, what would it be?
For me, honestly, nothing is on my list of things I care about. I like the idea of Tangled. Sorry, that
Unraveled
was,
2.
Unraveled, okay. In that it's not my type of game, but I like that it's something different and it's being put out there. And I know that for people who maybe Unraveled to them was what Ori and the Blind Forest was to me, that this announcement was significant. And I do like the day and date stuff whenever they do that. That always seems legitimate. What's it called now? Battlefield 5?
Yeah, just 5.
It had my respect, a bit of a tip of a cap, to come out and say, hey, Battle Royale is an additional mode. It is not our game.
Yeah,
Battle Royale is not an entire game. And to also, keep adding single player components and to have what looks like a very varied product in the types of ways you can play it, and not just say we are only a battle royale mode and everything else gets cut. Pay us $80 in microtransactions, please.
But I kind of think they announced that because Call of Duty announced that. They're still locked in the one person, we have to do it better than the other guys, because let's be real, at this point Battlefield and Call of Duty might as well be the same game. They have the same notes. So you see Battlefield 1 come out previously, and then the next Call of Duty is World War II. Okay, well, that Call of Duty is World War II. Let's do World War II again.
Yeah.
Because everyone seems to have forgotten that those games existed in huge numbers in the early 2000s.
And I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying that Battlefield, when they were describing their list of features, it felt like a much bigger game than the next Call of Duty feels.
Next Call of Duty doesn't have single player where this one does.
Yeah.
So not only do we have the Battle Royale mode, we got it as, like you're saying, as a mode, not as the game.
It'll be interesting to see what like their approach to Battle Royale will be, because I'm not fully sold that like Call of Duty will be able to pull it off. It's the maps have always been too small, not enough players. It would seem to lend better to the Battlefield style, where
I think so.
Bigger maps, tons of players, vehicles, that sort of stuff. And most Battle Royale games, or at least when that genre started getting popular, with like the mods for Arma and PlayerUnknown's Battleground, that that's kind of that style of game. They've kind of moved from there a little bit with like Fortnite and a couple of the newer ones that are starting to show up now. But it'll be interesting to see what a AAA full title with the the full resources of a company like EA will be able to do in that field.
If you had to pick something out of this, Texas, which would you pick?
Probably, like, it's hard to say. Anthem looks interesting, but I don't know if the gameplay is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Like I like that they showed some more of the like the world building sort of stuff. The the things you don't normally look at when like, oh, this game's coming out. What is it about? The customization is interesting, that it's microtransactions but not like power. It has nothing to do with it's skins basically. As far as the favorite out of what they showed, probably Sea of Solitude. It looked different enough that I'll probably pick it up and play it at some point.
Zach, if you had to give EA a rating, we'll say out of 10 loot boxes.
Can I ask Texas a question before we move on to the ratings?
Fine, be that way.
What are your thoughts on Anthem not having PvP?
Out of the gate.
Out of the gate, that's a big asterisk on that, because realistically, I could very easily see them putting something in, but not.
So, what time frame do you think it has to be in before people get bored?
It's
like
before
1 month,
or
3
after
months,
the Taken
6
King.
months? Like what's the sort of demographics?
I think that really depends
that?
on how much content there is to start and how much they add. Because like you see with games like Sea of Thieves is a good example of this, where the game was super hyped up when it got announced last year, and then it comes out and it gets it's a shallow content. There's not a lot of it, even though there technically is a PvP element to that game.
Well, I think this looks at the games of service thing as a whole, right?
Yeah, like I could see them putting in some sort of PvP, but it depends on what sort of player base they get off the bat.
Zach, you played Destiny?
1, yes.
I know we played Destiny 1 and 2,
yes,
Texas.
both of them,
How much PvP have you guys actually played?
Well, I mean, I'm not a PvP type of guy. However, I wasn't the type of person that put 1,600 hours into Destiny. I was the type of person that did every zone, every quest, and every whatever the equivalent of dungeons are. Like,
so you checked it off your list and went,
and then I said, and I enjoyed the loot cave. The loot cave was awesome. And after 20 hours, I said, you know what? I feel like I had a lot of fun, and I stopped playing. And I never bought a microtransaction. I never bought an expansion, and that was just kind of how I consume games. So,
but it's funny because like I asked the PvP question because you brought it up, and before with the Battlefield, you brought up Battlefield as a mode.
Yeah.
So both of those to me seem like it's we're looking at the game as a full package.
Yeah.
And so without PvP, you're like, it's missing this component.
Well, I mean, I more asked because Anthem is not the type of game I'm interested in, and I more wanted to get an opinion of a person who it is the type of game that they'd be interested in,
So,
what they kind of felt about it. So
I was talking to some friends of mine and made a comparison for Anthem that I really hope won't be the case. Anthem is BioWare's Destiny with the story of Halo. Like, the story in it is very much those sorts of themes that matches kind of the Halo storyline. And then gameplay, really hope the gameplay is not as much like Destiny as people think it will be, and more like the Lost Planet games where, like run around shooting stuff. It looks a little slow paced, in my opinion, for that type of game.
Yeah, I can't help but be cynical with EA being like, we need to get me a games of service, as it was Jack Layton that said it last. Last at PSX, or where he was just like, we're not that kind of, Sony's not that kind of company. But it's funny because like I really want to like this game. I do. Not just because I have a soft spot for Bioware games, Edmonton. You hear all this stuff behind it about like, this game doesn't do well, what's that mean for the studio? EA is one of the ones known to not have the longest leash for these things.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that sentiment. I definitely have worked with and/or have people that come to where I work that I know decently well that work on this game, and they're really optimistic about it, but at the same time you can kind of get the sense that they're maybe concerned in the back of their mind that if it doesn't go over well, they don't know what's going to happen.
Zach?
No, I mean, I don't have anything else to add on that. EA's conference, though, gets 2 loot boxes out of 10 from me.
2 loot boxes out of 10.
Probably the worst conference of the lot.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that I would necessarily say that. There's some that are pretty, ooh.
I mean, as far as neither being entertaining nor giving me any reason to buy any of their products, I would say that it got the negative on both of them. There were conferences less entertaining.
Let me ask you this. If you roll the pre-show, the EA pre-show in there, how entertaining does that become?
I didn't see the EA.
Oh man, it's so bad. But
cringe. Top to bottom.
Smiley nonsense.
I know it's worse than that. Watch it if you get a chance. I think you'll enjoy it.
It's what's wrong. Like it's like Z's at the end of words from marketing.
So is it worse than whatever Microsoft calls their Microsoft Directs?
So basically EA's
like
pre-show
too much caffeine guy was all like
one guy who was a little too amped up about talking before the press conference and trying to fill time and be funny and falling very flat.
This is the third year they brought him back too. Right?
Yeah, he was not doing a good job.
Get yourself an Isha Tyler and things will be okay. Loot boxes.
I'd probably say 3. I wasn't really impressed because most of EA's stuff, in the same way that they always do things, is more of the same. So you get your EA Sports titles, you get some more about Origin Access and stuff like that, and you get these same notes that they hit every single year with these yearly titles. That's what EA does. It's not interesting. The indie stuff is cool. I found it pretty funny when they came out and were like, "Oh, we donated $1 million between these 3 companies." Yeah. I'm like, okay, that's like the number that you have to be as a company to be like, "Oh, this is a lot of money," but then you're like, "Oh, between 3 companies."
Yeah. Also, I'm sure they made way more than that on the loot boxes. I keep coming back to it, but like,
I was talking to Scott on Facebook while this press conference was going on. I definitely compared the CEO of EA to a
Bond villain,
like a B movie children's action movie villain.
It's like Chi Chi Bang Bang. He's like kidnapping people, but instead of kids, it's wallets, and just like, I will take your money. It was bad. Andrew Wilson continues to be a interesting character. He just doesn't have the charisma. It just feels like he beat up the gamer types and took their money when he was in high school, and now he's doing it again digitally. Yeah, but you gotta give me a number. This is gamers need numbers.
That's a 3.
3?
3
okay,
3 loot boxes.
Yeah, I actually gonna give this one like a 5. I think it's probably the baseline. It's passable, it's serviceable. It's what EA does every year. I'm not too. It does get sad face for Command & Conquer Rivals,
of course,
which I heard is better than. It was funny because I was talking to Tex after this, and I was like, and my brother, and I'm like, what's the chances Anthem can just be like a backdoor Command & Conquer, like game. Like that could be it, right? We could do this. Like the first 3 chapters are on the planet, and then they fire some like Tiberium off to the Earth, and we follow that along, and all of a sudden, and everyone's just like, no, it won't be. And I'm like,
I still think it's really funny that not only did I call that it was Command and Conquer before they announced the title, but the fact they waited to the end of that segment to be like, oh yes, this is Command and Conquer, because they knew everyone would absolutely rail it.
There's we'll get to it in Microsoft, but I'll mention that there is a way you announce these spin-off-y ish titles, and I think Microsoft did it really well. Speaking with that, let's go into Microsoft. They had a whack load of games, so I'm going to break it into chunks. So we'll start with Halo Infinity, Ori and the Will of the Wisp, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, I'm hoping I pronounced that correctly, Fallout 76, Captain Spirit, Crackdown 3, Nier Automata, and Metro Exodus. I was going to say it looks insane. That's actually my notes. We'll start with those games, and then we'll move on. Anything in there tickle your guys' fancy, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, and this is one of the problems, is that the game that interested me most during the conference is a game that Microsoft doesn't have any particular affiliation with. And that's Metro. Metro Exodus does actually interest me more than Ori and Will of the Wisps.
Oh, crazy.
At this point, I'm disappointed because last month they pushed Metro Exodus back to 2019. However, I probably will still buy Metro Second Light or Last Light redo when the Steam sale starts next week.
Super good. I have both of them, and the remakes. They're really good.
I like that it's this weird because we always talk about Western development and Eastern development, and now we're starting to get this like middle like European development with things like Witcher and Metro and Stalker.
And we have things like Horizon was a very European developed game. You have Fable, that was a European
Paradox
game.
The whole studio was just all these and it's interesting because they come at it from a different point of view. And that's really Texas. If you had to pick one of those games to any of those stand out.
So there's a couple in there that are interesting to me, but not like groundbreaking because like obviously Halo, it's a big deal for them to announce another main series Halo title, but they didn't really do anything with it. They're just like, oh, here's a little tiny teaser just to get you started.
It's going to be a launch title for the next console.
Yeah, almost certainly. There's kind of 2 franchises that they do that with. One is Gears of War and one is Halo. So, but other than that, Nier Automata, still a really good game. Not really interesting to me because I played it before. It's cool that they're putting it on consoles and PC for Windows Store for some reason. It's already on Steam. But yeah, Metro is probably out of those games the biggest one for me.
I was going to say Microsoft came out after the conference and said that the Halo was a quotation engine demo only, and the game is still, again, quote, a long time off.
Space engine.
So, like, it's basically like the Elder Scrolls 6 announcement.
I give it 2 years.
No, yeah, I agree. 2020 seems...
2020 is when they said the next Xbox is going to come out.
There is one theme that I kind of want to bring up that feels like it underlines all these conferences and makes me a little bit happy, and that's I feel like the launch window for the next generation is going to be better than the launch window for the last generation was, because that was an appalling first 2 years. The last console cycle. Like, it feels like everyone's balancing their books for what they'd already have in development, and they're just preparing for the next gen. And Sony, they still seem to look like they're ending the generation with some big hitters, but they're not doing what they did last generation, where the first half of 2013 was like all their big studios launching games, and then they had nothing for 4 years.
Yeah.
The only other kind of additional title is Sekiro. That's From Software's next. Like, it's not really
It's Tenchu.
Is that the VR one? Or?
No, it's their not Dark Souls. It's what they've been working on since Dark Souls 3 came out. It's
Tenchu Dark Souls.
Yeah, so I really think they want to try to get away from that comparison. So they're trying to do something different, different from what they have been doing.
Yeah,
it's really going to be interesting to see one how it compares to Neo, which came out last year, and then the second one got announced, which we'll get to later.
You'll get to. Yeah.
I really think that what's going to happen with those, they're probably going to come out like right around the same time as each other, and it's going to be really weird to see which one people want more.
Like Quake 3, Unreal Tournament.
Because if I had to pick a game from Software versus Koei Tecmo, okay, I think I'm going to take From Software, 100% of the time, pretty much.
I'm going to move on to the next little group of, like I said, Microsoft had a ton of games announced. Kingdom Hearts 3, Sea of Thieves DLC, 2 of them. I think one of them's out already, though. Battlefield 5 had the story trailer. Forza Horizon 4, We Happy Few, PUBG is going into full mode. So out of early access. Tales of Vesperia, The Division 2, Tomb Raider, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and Session, which is the new not Skate 4 game.
Not Skate, and that made people really mad.
Zach?
Forza 4 actually makes my list. I haven't bought a Forza game since Forza 2, not Horizon 2, like Forza Motorsport 2.
Yeah.
I've got it's very low on my list of anticipated games because I have some very strong reservations about how they're potentially controlling how I play the game.
Mm-hmm.
There have been some things that they've been saying, when you make a custom rate, I forget the word it is, but when you create a custom race, like start point and end point or whatever, they said that you can adjust the seasons. So I'm hoping that, and that's one question that people have kept asking that hasn't been answered is, okay, I get that, the online, the festival or whatever, the stuff that gets you points that you're going to spend in currency and competing against other players, they control the seasons. So they do 1 week, you can't play any other season. They say you're all playing winter this week. Now the question everybody's asking is, if I'm playing in a private lobby, and if I'm playing online, which they confirmed you can play offline just fine, are you going to let me choose the seasons if I'm not playing in your public? I'm very interested, but I'm still watching. Also, I probably won't pre-order it just because people said that the pre-order experience for Forza Horizon 3 was absolutely terrible. So I'm gonna let things kind of settle. I'm gonna watch them and see if they don't try and control how I want to enjoy my game too much. And it might be the first racing game that I pick up in a long time. I'll play it on PC too, by the way.
Texas, anything under there?
That section, in my opinion, is basically we just bought all these companies, so let's show off the games that we just now own the rights to.
Well, We Happy Few is in there, but it's coming out on everything.
That was an interesting one because of all the turmoil that has surrounded that game since they announced it. In and out of early access and being banned in countries because of the drug references in the game, and
so Australia.
Yeah. Right. Other than that, Kingdom Hearts 3, sure, but this game was all over E3.
Yeah, it
showed up on more press conferences than any other game. Four press conferences.
That's insane.
I understand it's their big game, but everyone knew it was coming, and it comes out at the beginning of next year. There's nothing interesting that they need to show with that game because it's an RPG. So
if you played the other ones, you kind of know what you're in for.
You get the gist. It's Disney and Square Enix mixed together, and the other ones were popular. I'm sure this one will just be just as good for the people who like those games.
One of the trailers did impress me for Kingdom Hearts 3, though. And the game just doesn't impress me that much, but it's not the Microsoft trailer. I think it was the Square Enix one where they showed the Pirates of the Caribbean world.
That was the best trailer for that game.
I was actually wow, that looks impressive. I thought it was a different game.
The game's going to look nice, and hopefully it won't suffer from what Duke Nukem did when they brought it out, because the game's been in development for 10 plus years. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring up another game that we'll get there. I'm gonna the list. I'll move on to this is the last of it. I'm gonna actually break the list into 2 parts. Black Desert, Devil May Cry 5, Cuphead, Tunic, Jump Force, Dying Light 2, Battletoads, Just Cause 4, Gears Pop, Gears Tactics, and Gears 5. I was mentioning earlier how about the Command and Conquer reveal. I think Gears Pop and Tactics is. I think Pop specifically. Tactics looked fine.
I like the idea of Tactics, but if you really slow down the video and
I've been going
and
over
keep
it a couple
watching
times.
It looked really low production value, which kind of bugged me. But
it could. I think they showed the mobile. No,
It's Gears of War 4 with a different control scheme is basically what it is. I am a huge mark for that type of game. I like tactics games a lot in all forms, so I'm totally okay with that. I think it fits well in that sort of gameplay.
well,
It's already a cover-based shooter, so let's bring the camera back a little bit and take some turns.
I think people would have been mad if that's all they announced for the series, but they went, no, we're still working on mainstream stuff. So Command and Conquer Rivals from EA, they went, here's the game. They went, oh, here's some weird spin-off game, but we also have a mainstream one coming too, right? Like it's.
And I mean, I think it's something I really wish more companies would do is that people don't understand how long it takes to bring up your skill set to be able to do some of the things that need to be done in modern computer design, right? And that's why closing down the Mass Effect Andromeda studio bugged me so much. I'm like, there's so much you could do to still make it profitable. Take that team, make the Mass Effect remaster. You're gonna make money, and you're giving people experience, right? And I kind of like the idea, if this is what it is, of saying, okay, this is how your training is going to go. We're going to put you on these smaller games. We might put you on mobile games. We might put you on smaller projects. We're going to bring you up. We're not going to take you 20 years, just out of technical school and have you try and do, the most complex parts of our AAA games. But let's get you used to our engines. Let's get you used to our code. Let's get you used to our environment. And I kind of hope that we see a better progression cycle of how to bring up a company.
I know Is it Blue Point that did
Blue Bytes? Is that one?
Oh no, there's Blue Byte. I think who did the Shadow of the Colossus remake?
Oh yeah, Blue Point.
Blue Point.
Sorry, I think Blue Byte's the German developer.
Yeah. So Blue Point is so they announced they're going to do one more remake, and then they're going to do their own stuff. But they've done 3 of them now, and they're like, we are doing this so our studio can develop the culture, can learn to gel together. We can slowly grow into the size we think we need for our project, stuff like that. And I think that goes back to the Mass Effect Andromeda. They took a bunch of seasoned guys and then gave them a bunch of new hires. Doesn't mean they're new people, but new to the industry. I don't know, but new hires for them. And then they gave them the new engine as well, Frostbite, because they're Unreal people. And then they went, hey, here's a new engine on top of it.
From what I heard, that they then started clawing back the experienced guys back to Edmonton to work on Anthem, because Anthem was the
darling
one priority, right?
Yeah. Texas thoughts on not just this, but
so of those games, like some of them are still kind of lumped into the hey, look, we just got some new stuff that we already knew about, but we just bought it, so let's show it off. I think that's fine. Still, like it's a decent place to put some of those games that are, people know about them, like Black Desert Online. That game has been out for several years.
On PC.
Yeah, it's not a new game. It's going to be weird to see it on consoles because it's, as far as graphics goes, it's actually pretty demanding for the type of game it is. But out of those games, I think the only one that I really care about is Devil May Cry 5. I'm really hoping that it's not just Devil May Cry 4 with like a new story, like the same gameplay, just new stuff in it, and it looks nicer. But I don't know that I would be too disappointed if that was the case, because Devil May Cry has always been pretty good. And they're going back to the actual main series of it, so that makes me happy.
Yeah, Battletoads is actually the one that if I had to put my 2 bits in. I'm curious, are they going to do some 3D world like a Devil May Cry, where it's that like actiony 3D world, or is it just, just give me the old school, that not even, it could be 2.5D for all I care, and just let me beat the crap out of things.
So I think that kind of game has gone in a weird cycle. So there was the remake or reintroduction of the like 8-bit arcade brawler. So you had like on Xbox Arcade, like on the 360, you had Ninja Turtles and you had Scott Pilgrim.
Mother Russia bleeds stuff. Like
yeah,
that.
like there's stuff like that, and then it shifted to like this weird 3D, 2D game when they they started re-releasing Double Dragon games with new like Double Dragon Neon.
Well, there's
and
Shadow
stuff like that.
Complex as well, which
Yeah,
is like
and now
2.5.
they've kind of come to hand drawn is where they're at. There's a lot more games you're starting to pop up that are, hand drawn is a big thing because it's animated.
Like Skullgirls.
Yeah, it looks nice, and it is a lot of work to animate something. That will kind of be the big test: is does the game look nice with the animations, or is it going to look really choppy because they didn't actually put enough work into it?
What's the chances they just release an HD version of the Super Nintendo or the original Nintendo one?
0.
I find that pretty unlikely.
I think I can't help but feel if Nintendo can get away with it, I don't know why they can't. The last game on the list, I did leave one off. I don't know, is a small one, Cyberpunk 2077. Zach? Have you heard of this game?
Cyberpunk 2077. No,
Texas.
I thought Cyberpunk was copyright, so no one could.
Texas.
Use that
You
name.
heard about this game?
Yeah, this game's gonna be fucking awesome.
Yeah. Zach had something to say about it though. Well, I'm going to start there.
I'm pondering how much I need to preface this. So,
if it was at the Sony press conference, there would be no preference.
no, I mean, I think it's going to be good. I didn't get on with Witcher 3. I played it for 20 plus hours. At the end of the day, I didn't like it. However, I have nothing bad to say about it. I mean, for me, The Witcher 3 was me going to the fanciest 5-star restaurant in France, having a world-class chef prepare one of the best meals you could possibly get, and it having a lot of onions in it. And me just being like, I am sure this is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
I hate onions, man. I'm sorry. And to me, I just can't get on with CD Projekt Red's games just because of my own preference.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to say a single bad thing about them because, frankly, they don't deserve anything bad said. I will say I was disappointed with the art direction. It did not feel very cyberpunky. It felt more classic sci-fi. I was hoping for more Blade Runner Shadowrun, and what I got felt more Mass Effect Andromeda.
More dystopian?
That's exactly it. Yeah.
So you do know that it is a license that they're using, right? So Cyberpunk is a established license role-playing game. One, so the art style totally is accurate.
Okay.
I think it's really funny that William Gibson said it's not cyberpunk enough. That really amused me.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, he tweeted about it and was like, "Yeah, this game is not cyberpunk enough. It's too.
There you go.
It's 80s retrofuturism."
and that
is what he
okay.
said.
So I feel
the father of
better that-
cyberpunk just agreed with Zach.
So
Thank
that's
you.
really funny. But I think the game is going to be really, really good. They've already said, and from some of the gameplay demos that haven't been shown but were apparently on the floor at E3, it's first person. So I'm assuming this is going to play out very much like the more recent Deus Ex games.
I think so too.
Except better.
Whoa.
Hang on. It's CD Projekt Red for one. Eidos Montreal is not CD Projekt Red when it comes to depth of world.
Well, I mean, CD Projekt Red can pay a staff of 500 people Eastern European wages. So 500 people living in Eastern Europe can crank out the content.
I'm going to interrupt here for a sec. I actually back, before we get too far into this, I back Zach. I don't mind the Witcher games, but it's like Bethesda stuff. I don't mind Bethesda games, but I don't play them. I don't like the feel.
I think the big problem with The Witcher
Yeah.
is the way it controls, the gameplay in that disconnects from the actual story elements in the game. I don't think Cyberpunk will have that same sort of problem because it's going to be a lot more open-ended on what you can do.
Yeah.
So it's going to be more along the lines of almost like if you crossed like a Bethesda open world game with Deus Ex.
Yeah, it's what
Is
what it kind of
what
feel.
it's been described as.
Yeah.
And
Because it's it is open world. They've already said that you're going to be able to make your own character and pretty much fully customize the character. You're going to have
male, female choices too.
you're going to have different options. I really hope the writing is good in it because that will definitely make or break, because there's a lot more in that sort of setting. There's a lot more talking to people. Like in The Witcher, yeah, you're this super powerful magical badass who goes around killing monsters. Okay. Some, thug walking down the street with his cronies isn't really going to have much to say to you.
Yeah.
But, when you're, you're playing a hacker, you're now doing jobs for some crazy, shadow government or something like that. There's going to be a lot more dialogue in that sort of game than there would be in I'm Fantasy Man, go kill the monsters.
Go kill Fantasy Monster, yeah.
Yeah, Scott brought this up to me a day or so after, and it interests me a lot more in that I might still give it a try for the gameplay, but what Scott was saying was that after 50 minutes of actually playing, that people were saying this is very immersive sim. Like, no one was expecting it to feel as immersive simmy, and that excites me. Because I like immersive sims, it excites me for that game, but if they can do immersive sims properly, after Prey being a good game, but selling averagely, and the same thing with Mankind Divided being a good game until the company meddled and cut off the ending and forced microtransactions.
Well, see, that's publisher, not
that's why I like CD Projekt Red more than I like
Square
Eidos
Enix,
and Square Enix, because CD Projekt Red in every case, every game they have ever made has been finished on their time frame.
Mm-hmm.
They self-publish. They they self-fund all these things because they have they own GOG.
Yeah.
And so they use that on PC. It's really cool because it's DRM free if you buy it from them. And they've been on record have basically said, we know you've been waiting on this game. We didn't want to even talk about it until Witcher 3 was completely done, including DLC. Also, the fact that they gave away free copies of The Witcher 3 in their trailer.
That was super cool.
That was really cool.
They're all gone. There's no point.
They were
There's
gone
no chance. Yeah.
within an hour of that showing up, probably even shorter than that.
The fact that people figured it out and did it, that was smart. They know their audience.
But I think they are more well-positioned to release a game of this sort than most other companies.
So the two things I've been hearing about it is... one, everyone who played it on the show floor, polish was the big capital P, maybe how capitalize that whole word, polished. They're like, this thing feels like it's almost good to go from what we played. Does that mean the rest of it is there? I don't know, but from what they played, that. Secondly, there is a controversy coming out of the Witcher camp for those people who played it and some vocal minority. They don't like that it's first person. They wanted action RPG to be third person, not first. And they're kind of putting up it's like the same people bitching and complaining about women on the cover of Battlefield.
Yeah, but that argument's pretty dumb because you can't release the same game. Like if they did it third person to appease that group, then you're basically just making, future Witcher. And like nothing necessarily wrong with that, but it doesn't lend very well to the theme and the setting, that the license that they have for it. And two, it's they don't want to make the same game over and over again.
Well, also if I may look at another industry, I'm just gonna use this example, don't want to get into it. So Batman's gonna change, and Ben Affleck's leaving, and the same people who bitched and complained that they didn't want Affleck as their Batman are the same people bitching and complaining that he's leaving. So you just can't make these people happy. And at some point, you know what? Just do you. I think EA had the best response to this. If you don't want women on the cover, don't buy it. We don't want your money. Like we believe in this, and I think that is very important. Where it's funny because 10 years ago now, we'll say that EA was the company that I'm going to say EA forced BioWare to change the ending to Mass Effect 3 or whatever. So they balked to money. And now that they're turning around, I think the loot box thing might have changed them. Zach, if you had to give Microsoft press conference 0 out of 10 companies bought,
I would. I mean, this one's tough because, like I said, entertainment of the conference, I give it 8 out of 10.
Yeah,
it was the most entertaining conference.
Well paced too.
As far as products that are actually Microsoft that I want to buy, I would give it. I'd give it 5 out of 10. So I'd probably give it 6.5 out of 10 on average. In that I was entertained. more than any other. But really, apart from being skeptical but interested in both Forza and Ori, there's not much that's going to make me become a customer of your product.
Texas?
Give it a solid 7 out of 10.
Okay.
I think on average, it was, nothing that they showed was really, really amazing that we didn't know about. Like, yeah, Halo, but Halo is kind of the same in most iterations.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like that they've kind of moved away from their, let's bring out a guy and have him talk for 15 minutes.
Or bring out a car and have guys talk about car.
Or like, let's have an impromptu tournament of some sort of game on our stage. They kept a lot of that stuff for after. Like, they did some of those things.
Yep.
But it was usually, if you're interested, stick around because we're going to have this, such and such person talking about this thing right after we're done. So traditionally, Microsoft has been very bad about that. About talking about this is all the media features of our console and all this extra stuff that people at a games conference are not really interested in. So they did a better job than they have traditionally, and I think that helps. It's definitely one of the better press conferences out of the whole thing. Compared to a lot of the other ones.
Yeah. The right answer, by the way, is 5. 5 were the number of companies Microsoft bought. But no, I give it 8 out of 10 as well. I think it was pacing. Everything was just solid. I'm going to quickly move on to Bethesda. They came out, did their thing again. They were the second out of 3 press conferences on Sunday. They had Rage 2, Elder Scrolls Legends, Elder Scrolls Online, Doom Eternal, Quake Champions, Prey Moon Crash, Typhoon Hunter. They put VLC, but it's actually virtual reality. Wolfenstein Youngblood, Wolfenstein Cyber Pilot, Fallout 76, Fallout Shelter, Elder Scrolls Blades, Starfield, and an Elder Scrolls 6 announcement. Zach, that's actually I should have probably broke that list in 2. But what do you got?
I would probably say that Bethesda's conference was my favorite conference, not from entertainment standpoint, but from highest percentage of products shown made me go, yeah, like I want to buy that. Please show me more of your products. They get 0 credit for Doom Eternal, Starfield, and Elder Scrolls 6. Like I'm not giving any conference credit for someone who just shows a title and like a little CG or engine trailer of something 2 years away. Like,
yeah.
I would have rather not seen those. Until they're going to show us something. Maybe Doom Eternal, because they said they're going to show it in depth at QuakeCon.
Yeah, I think this was just like the cherry, and they'll go give us the rest of the Sunday in 8 weeks.
And pacing-wise,
6 weeks.
There were 2 conferences that had the same really weird thing happen to them with the pacing, where they had a good intro, and then they bombed for 20 to 30 minutes, and then they finished with a good hour. And Bethesda is one of them, where I enjoyed watching Rage at the beginning. I did not enjoy the talking heads that they had after that, but I enjoyed after they brought out Pete Hines and Todd Howard to finish the show.
Todd Howard is just a strong speaker. He knows it. He knows you're just getting it up, but he's also charismatic. He knows what he knows what he has to say you're gonna like, and he knows he can say it however he wants.
He could probably say anything on stage at E3. As long as it was even remotely relevant to any game that they're making.
Yeah. And
people would applaud him forever and ever and have him be their favorite person.
As far as, the actual games go, Rage 2 looks fantastic. I kind of wish it wasn't spoiled because that might have been the one game that got announced that, I
Thanks,
learned
Walmart.
about at the conference that I was interested in. I'm hoping it's like Far Cry open world, but with Doom's combat. That's kind of my hope for it.
Yeah.
The Prey DLC looks interesting enough that I want to load up Prey again. Fallout Shelter on the Switch made me pick up Fallout Shelter again and then stop playing after 2 days because the game's actually really not that good. The Wolfenstein stuff looked okay. I wasn't that into Wolfenstein. Sadly, one of the games that's on my top 10 games of E3 is that stupid
Blades?
Elder Scroll Mobile, Blades.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed in myself, but when they talked about all the town customization,
oh, you mean Skyrim for Alexa is not?
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't even write it down.
That was the most entertaining part of E3.
That's a real thing.
That is a real thing.
Is it?
Yeah, you can actually do it.
Okay.
You can get Skyrim for Amazon Alexa.
That's
What about
pretty awesome.
the pager in the fridge?
Someday
Someday.
next year.
Yeah.
So
The
no, I mean-
janitor is still working. Yeah.
It was a good conference. They showed products. I wanted to acquire their products. It made me feel good, like when I saw some of the stuff that they were releasing DLC for. Like it kind of gave me that nostalgic feeling for some of their games. So good on them.
Tex?
So out of what they showed, Rage, yeah, I kind of agree that I wish it hadn't been spoiled because that would have been a big announcement. I really think that executives from Bethesda have said that yes, the first Rage was every shade of brown imaginable.
Yeah.
And that people liked the color and stuff that they haven't shown in the second one. I really think that Rage 2 was aimed to beat Borderlands 3 to the punch. I think is them showing it now, because by all regards, that game is still, like, it probably still needs a little bit of work, I would bet, even though it's coming out the beginning of next year, like first quarter next year. But yeah, I think that they made a smart move pushing it as much as they have, even after the leak. The guy that they had from Avalanche Studios is an actual living Viking.
Yeah.
That was amusing.
I like
to me.
how they put him like the shortest person in id. Like if they were Tom Holzman was still there, he's a tall guy. Put those two out there, but no, Tim Willis.
Yeah. So that was kind of amusing. Andrew WK playing a song.
Playing the song over the
yeah.
trailer.
Okay, so that's pretty good. The crowd was surprisingly not enthusiastic about that at all.
It's Andrew WK, maybe.
Yeah.
Hell, 2 out of 3 of us are more enthused about that than the
Legends
others.
is, in my opinion, Legends is worse Hearthstone. And then Elder Scrolls Online, I'm sure that was basically a contractual agreement with ZeniMax to say, hey, we're going to talk about this game.
Yeah, well, ZeniMax is the parent company. So,
yeah, and they're big on the online because it kind of goes back to games as a service. I really think that for storytelling in the Elder Scrolls universe, they like the online idea because it allows them to tell like fringe stories that people want.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Blades looks cool. I'll probably play that at some point.
I liked
The
Fallout 76 with the whole like you can control the nukes thing.
So
I don't like Fallout games. I actually love the universe. Don't like the non
Fallout 76
isometric stuff.
Is probably the most interesting thing that they showed, in my opinion. And that is because when they say that there are no characters, there's no NPCs.
Yeah, everyone's
They're
humans.
not kidding about that. Every single character that is not a monster or robot or something along those lines is another player. Whether, I don't know how long this game will last, and that's kind of a problem, in my opinion, with it, is if the game doesn't become super, super popular, do you just end up with a bunch of servers where there's like your 3 friends, and like 2 other dudes from Germany that randomly show up on our, on our servers for AVP.
AVP.
If that happens, then the game will probably be, unless you just want to build stuff, pretty dead. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But it's interesting to me that they would take that direction with it. I think they've wanted to do an online Fallout for a long time, and they're just now at the point where they have the technology to do the way they want it.
They sued Interplay for it too, right? So there was all that about 5 years ago.
And then Elder Scrolls 6 doesn't like.
How do you what
that is a non-game at this point. Like everyone knew it was coming at some point, and this is another thing that I correctly called before this press conference even started was they're going to show new Elder Scrolls, but it's going to be like a minute and a half of music, and it's just going to say Elder Scrolls 6 cut to black.
Yep.
Yeah, that not surprised by that at all.
You can stamp that on your E3 bingo card. Good for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean
wholeheartedly.
The one sad thing about their end announcements, and they said they were next gen games, right? Which means PS5, Xbox 2, whatever. The most interesting thing to me was I immediately thought, okay, so what's Bethesda Studios corporate, or what's their internal structure like right now? Because up until Fallout 4, they were one team works on one game, right? And they said it in all their documentaries. They're like, we are a team of 70 to 80 people. We work on one game at a time. And since they're the ones putting out Fallout 76, and they announced Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6, it makes me it makes me really curious about what are your teams doing right now? Are one of these 3 games not actually Bethesda Studios, like Todd Howard's team? Did you get another team? Did you hire enough people? What's
they
going
have
on
3
inside?
sites now.
Well, that's also kind of why I think that like Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6, they're effectively non-games at this point. Elder Scrolls 6 is probably, I'm going to estimate 4 years before that game is thing that you can play.
If Cyberpunk 2077 is 6 years on and we're still waiting on it, this is a studio. Elder Scrolls 6 will be 2022 at the earliest. Starfield might be launched.
4 years away.
Is that 4? Oh, crap. Okay, 2024.
I think 2020 for Elder Scrolls 6.
No, I'm saying 6.
Starfield's going to come out before Elder Scrolls 6.
So. They said there's 2 games before Starfield, or before Elder Scrolls 6. I'm guessing that's Fallout 76 and Starfield.
Yeah, now that their development team, because Fallout 76 is effectively in the marketing phase of development, so that's not, I doubt they're putting a huge amount of work into it anymore.
Starfield is launch title for the next ones, and then 2 or 3 years later will be
Fallout will be, or not Fallout, Elder Scrolls 6 will be like the second half launch title, because I guarantee the next console generation will be like this one, where it's going to be forever. So they're going to almost have this like second renaissance of titles when they finally figure out how the dev kit works.
I don't think they would have announced them if they were that far out. My official prediction is I think Fallout 76 was their B team. I think Fallout 76 was the team that created the Skyrim engine for the next gen, because they said that the order they did things was after Skyrim, they created the next gen Skyrim engine first, finished that, then used that engine to create Fallout 4. Mm-hmm. And I think that the team that made Fallout 4 is working on either Elder Scrolls 6 or Starfield, and I think that Fallout 76 is one of the B teams.
Could Fallout 76 be the Mass Effect Andromeda? If we go back to the analogy of trying to get this team up and running before we give them...
Maybe.
I don't think so. Bethesda hasn't traditionally worked that way. They usually acquire, they did it with Arcane, where they acquired a studio and let them do their thing, and they just kind of bankroll it and say, we'll produce it for you. And then they do their own games. This is kind of I don't think they are splitting off a fringe team, like a tertiary.
I wouldn't have thought that, because they've never done that before. However, just how Montreal. Many games they've announced makes me feel that they've switched the way they've been doing things up until this point.
So they just opened Bethesda Montreal. What's the chances that's the X-Pax from BioWare Montreal?
Could be.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know
people
this.
That Square Enix has been letting go, because apparently there was a big issue after Human Revolution.
Yeah.
Where Square Enix...
Mankind Divided.
No, Human Revolution.
Oh,
yeah. Well, as far back as Human Revolution,
Square Enix, aka IDOS, because Square Enix is basically not involved with the games they publish, other than saying we need this at this time.
Yeah,
they're pretty much EA at this point. I'm comfortable in saying that.
Okay, well, I'm gonna ask us to rate the Bethesda conference. Zach, if you had to rate it, 0 out of 10 post-apocalyptic franchises, you would give it...
I would give it overall 7 Nuka-Colas out of 10.
7 Nuka-Colas.
Okay. Yeah, it gets 8 for products I want to buy, and it gets 6 for entertainment.
Solid. So, yeah, I see what you did there. This is like back when GamePro had like the 5 different things with the weird faces, like graphics and stuff.
I think...
Out of post-apocalyptic franchises, Texas.
I would say it's...
how many cheese wheels out of 10?
Cheese wheels.
Cheese wheels. All the cheese wheels.
All the cheese wheels. You know what the doctor said.
In my opinion, I think I'm going to say this is 7 not Mad Maxes out of 10.
There is a theory that Rage 2 started as a Mad Max game from Avalanche, and then they went, we're not going to... The next movie's not coming out anytime soon. We're not going to license it, so let's slap Rage on it.
Yeah, I think that it was decently entertaining. I like hearing Todd Howard talk about his games, because he's, he answers questions, but he also cracks jokes.
I think my favorite joke was when he said, so it turns out sometimes it just doesn't work.
Yeah, and we leave it in there anyway.
I like that they're not afraid to make fun of themselves as a company, because a lot of the bigger companies will not.
You got to keep corporate image.
Yeah, it's very propaganda-y at times, but they tend to be a little more lighthearted than that in their talking. But yeah, I don't necessarily think it was better than like the Microsoft press conference in quality overall. So I think I'd give them the same score.
Cool. Yeah, I think Doom Eternal is probably the game I'm most excited for. Doom 2016.
I love that the Doom 2 is themed as the same, like Hell on Earth from the trailer.
Oh, so good.
Makes me happy.
If they would have shown gameplay and it was basically just more Doom.
You didn't play Doom 2016? They showed a ton of gameplay then.
No, sorry. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. If they showed gameplay and it was basically just more Doom from 2016, that might have got my game of the show.
They showed gameplay for Elder Scrolls 6. It was called Elder Scrolls 1 through 5. And so like it's just different graphically. Like okay, I'm gonna move on now. Last one we're gonna do is Devolver Digital. The craziness that started last year continued this year and ended with it to be continued again.
Serialized.
Yeah.
I didn't even watch it. Just
15 minutes of just pure crazy.
Insanity. Also, one of my favorite games got
announced
during this.
Well, I'm going to actually change. So they announced Scum, My Friend Pedro, and Mech America Great Again, Metal Wolf Chaos XD. I'll start with Texas this time. Let's make things a little different. Out of that list, what do you think is your favorite?
So, looks the most interesting is probably My Friend Pedro, because that game is it's a shooter puzzle game from the look of it, which I'm totally okay with. But my favorite game that they announced is Metal Wolf Chaos, 100%.
The XD.
Like I watched, so they did a follow up kind of like developer commentary on it in one of the Twitch, like in between press conference show segments that they did, and it is a remake of that game in the purest sense, where it's they tried to change as little as possible, like as little as they needed to. The original version of this game never came out in the West. It was Japan only, and it's made by From Software, which is still one of my favorite companies. It is pure, it is insane. That game, you play as the president piloting a mech suit, fighting the vice president who is staging a coup to try to take over the U.S.
Yep. Yeah.
And you have missiles, and you
craziness,
fly through areas, blowing up stuff with guns, and it's fun.
Scum was
Best dialogue.
Scum was a battle royale, which oddly enough, almost every conference had a battle royale of some sorts announced. It looks okay. It's fine. I'm not too. My Friend Pedro it just looks beautiful and crazy. I'm
honestly surprised that Scum was talked about and that they didn't talk about Serious Sam 4.
We can get into what games weren't talked about. Because there was a lot of missing on this.
On this one, it's Serious Sam 4 is a bigger title for Devolver, and Scum is not a new thing. It's not a new title. We've known about it. It just before looked like an indie battle royale game, so I'm surprised. I don't know if they announced it just because they're like, oh, it's the big joke, and we're Devolver, so we're gonna crack the big joke.
Yeah,
I think that's probably has something to do with it, and Serious Sam is less topical on that, but it still surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, Zach, 2 bits. You said you.
I didn't watch it. Sorry, guys. I got nothing interesting.
It was actually for 15-20 minutes.
There's one more thing that they announced that needs to be mentioned: the loot box coin.
Loot box coin was $75 when I checked last.
It has been. This is just the most insane marketing ever. It is a real thing that you can buy.
It's 2.5-inch coin.
Yeah, it's a big plastic coin, and it's worth some amount of money supposedly.
You can't wallet it. You can't buy anything with it. You can't do anything with it. When I first looked, it was $135, and then it was $141, and the next day it was $75. And that's where
Devolver Digital, just like last year, was a whole bunch of pre-recorded nonsense.
Yeah, Gong Show.
Absolutely insane, but for reasons.
GIF and GIF came up.
I mean, they should make a cryptocurrency out of it and
people
launch
exploding.
Is this? This reminds me of when people buy Litecoins and they get an actual physical coin. I'm like, this shit's worth nothing, but okay.
No, they acknowledge that fact.
Yeah. Oh no, they prefaced it with pretty much you're just giving us money for nothing. And they made sure there were They had graphics to state that. They had like it says it in the description of the coin on the website. Like literally, you're just throwing money at us.
Yeah, Devolver Digital continues to be the non-press conference. Intentionally, they want to make the big joke.
Yeah, and I like
last year the joke was, oh, we're not going to announce any games. We're just going to talk about business in all of the jargon.
Tomorrow's shady practices today, I think, was the tagline.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but okay, so I'm not. I don't even know how you rate it. I don't even know.
3 question marks out of whatever.
How many Serious Sam 4s out of 10 did they not announce?
100 million loot box coins out of 50.
I don't even know.
19 fake currency manipulations out of 4.
Yeah. It was huge. But yeah, so on that note, we're gonna finish up today, and then we'll be back with the other four. Square Enix, Ubisoft, PC Gaming, and Sony and Nintendo. 5 of them next week. That'll be a long one. Speaking of games, PC Gaming Showcase announced a poop ton of stuff. But
they always do, and
it's all over the place. It's pretty much feels like we'll get to that next week.
Day 9.
Yeah, actually, he was better this year. My name's Scott MacArthur.
Zach Burns.
Braden, Texas Caldwell.
And we're done.